Welcome, welcome, welcome. We are here for lying to yourself. We got a bunch of liars here because this is unbelievable, the numbers coming in. This is Stop Lying to Yourself training. I'm Dave Meltzer. Welcome. We are so excited to have you. I want to make a few quick announcements and then I'll get started. One, I have launched a search engine for you to ask questions about any of these things, to get the guides, exercises. Search.dmeltzer.com. Search.dmeltzer.com. Remember, I'll be giving books away for free today for everyone. Exercises, guides on Stop Lying to Yourself. All you got to do is email me at david@dmeltzer.com or join my text community at 949-298-2905. If you miss it or want to share this, it's always, they said they can't hear. Can you hear okay? Thank you. We can hear you. Okay, good. All right, thank you. I appreciate it. Anyway, Spotify is featuring all of the trainings on the playbook. There's a playlist of the playbook, so join us on Spotify. Entrepreneur features it, as well as all the other platforms. So you can catch the exercises, guides, the replays. Those all come out as well, so make sure we're on top of it. Let's get started. And what better place to start than Dr. Seuss? Dr. Seuss, to me, put it best. Be who you are and say what you feel, because those who mind don't matter, and those who matter don't mind. Simply put, it means that honesty begins with you, not the people around you. For me, this lesson was learned through a series in my life. What happened was I had lived in the world of not enough for so long, and then to make all those millions, to live in the world of just enough, where everything happened for me, and I was conditioned to oversell, back-end sell, lie, manipulate, and cheat, and I was so afraid of that, and I wanted everyone, right? Everything was a trade and negotiation. Everything was for me, and I would give to receive, and all of these other things. And then at 30 years old, I got married to my dream girl. Everything in my life had just reaffirmed money buys love and happiness, and I was completely insecure. And my father, my dad left when I was 5. For those of you that don't know the story, he left when I was 5 and was my hero, right? He made a ton of money. Little did I know at 5 that he was a deadbeat dad back in the 70s. And I just looked up to him. In fact, one of the biggest needs to feel guilty that I have is I used to sit in the station wagon. My mom would pack our dinners in a station wagon, paper bag, and fill up turnstiles as her second job at the 7-Eleven with greeting cards. And I tell my mom, as I was sitting there eating a bologna with mustard and white bread, Wonder Bread sandwich, why can't you be more like Dad? Meanwhile, the guy was not doing anything, and he was my hero. He had married a girl closer to my age than his, and I admired him. But at 10 years old, he made a crucial error. At 10, he forgot my birthday. And if it wasn't bad enough that he forgot my birthday, what he did, which was interesting, is he lied about why. I said, Dad, how could you forget my birthday? And he said, I didn't forget your birthdays. I don't believe in birthdays. This crushed me because at 10 years old, I realized my dad was a liar. He was a manipulator, a cheater, an overseller and back-end seller. And for 20 years, I separated myself from my father, had very limited engagement with him, very limited respect. I had a lot of anger. But at 30, married to my dream girl, living in my dream house, multi-millionaire, I received a 30th birthday present for the first time in 20 years from my father. It was a jacket. I put it on and I started to cry. My wife said, what's the matter? I said, my dad gets it. He actually called you or my mom or somebody, and he has exact measurements. It fits perfectly. And I was so excited. It was almost a relief that I could have a relationship now with my father, something every son wants. I was on with Eddie George yesterday, the running back from Ohio State and the Titans, and we were talking about our fathers and, although they weren't perfect fathers, how much we wanted their approval, how much we wanted them to tell us how proud they were of us and how hard we worked for that. And gosh, them up, and I said, Dad, why are you punishing me on my 30th birthday? He said, whoa, what do you mean punishing you? I said, you gave me this beautiful sport coat and I can't even wear it. He said, it's not for wearing. Hang it in your closet. So why would I hang a coat in my closet? Why are you punishing me? He said, Dave, that jacket is to remind you you can't take anything with you when you're gone. You are just like me. I immediately exploded. I said, I'm nothing like you. You're a liar, a cheater, manipulator, overseller, back-end seller. I'm nothing like you. I hate you. He said, David, you need to learn that money doesn't buy happiness. You need to know that when you are gone, you don't want to be the richest man in the cemetery. You are here to give your life away. I know you're not hearing me, but I love you and I want you not to make the same mistakes as me. I wish at 30 years old I was ready for that message, but I wasn't. I told him, F you, I hate you, and I hung up. 6 years later, when I was running Lee Steinberg Sports and Entertainment, the most notable sports agency in the world, I took my best friend, Rob from the 4th grade, Rob, who in the 6th grade camp, I asked him if he would help me ask my wife today to go steady with me because I adored her. And she said no, tell him to ask me himself. And he yelled out in front of everyone, dude, she said no. So I threw an egg at my wife. But needless to say, Rob and I had been friends for a very long time, as much time as I've known my wife. And he was my first friend when I moved to California. So I asked Rob if he wanted to go to the Masters with me. Now, because I was running Lee Steinberg, I had access not only to the Masters, but to the cabins, to the media center. I was surrounding myself with the celebrities, athletes, and entertainers, media, billionaires, millionaires, Wayne Gretzky, Shannon Sharp, Curtis Strange in the cabins. And I was so excited to bring my best friend Rob with me. And so I asked him, hey, you want to come to the Masters? We'll do it right. We'll have all the private jet parties. You'll love it. And without blinking, Rob told me, I'm not going. I said, well, why aren't you going? He said, because I don't like what you're doing and who you hang out with. I said, oh, come on. I'm not doing what those guys are doing, Rob. And then he gave me a shot to the heart. He said, David, you can lie to me, but don't lie to yourself. That was the first time that someone I cared about said no to me. Someone told me to look within to find outside of me what I could not find within myself. And I was crushed. I was crushed. 2 weeks later, most of you know the story, my wife confronted me as well. I had lied to her. I went to the Grammy Awards with Little John, the rapper. Came home 5:30 in the morning, intoxicated and high, and she told me she wasn't happy for the very first time and told me I better take stock in who I was. I wish I was ready to hear all 3 of those messages. One from my dad, one from Rob, and one from my adorable wife. But I wasn't. I had a need to be offended. I couldn't believe she wasn't grateful for everything I had done, for what we had, and how could she dare not be happy? I resented her. I felt so angry, and I woke up in the morning thinking, I'm going to take her happiness because I'm going to take her money. I'm going to get divorced. And as I was dialing, I looked over in my closet, and there it was, the jacket. The jacket that represented the truth. Because all the anger and hatred and resentment and guilt that I had to my dad, to Rob, and to my wife, I realized one thing. I hated myself. I hated myself for being a liar, a cheater, a manipulator, an overseller, a back-end seller. And I started to take stock in who I was. And I started to look within. I hated being lied to so much. If anybody would ask me what characteristic I disliked the most, it would say dishonesty. And yet, I was the person telling the biggest lies. I was the person, when I looked into the mirror, that knew who the liar was. I lied to myself all the time because I was afraid. I was afraid that I wasn't adequate, that I felt not worthy. I felt ashamed. I believed, that somehow, that if we were right for doing the wrong things, if we did, our lives would be better. Lying with a purpose, lying with intention. The truth is, the best life is the life we live when we're completely honest with ourselves about ourselves. The best life that we can live in the consistent, persistent pursuit of our potential is when we are honest about ourselves with ourselves. What's the big issue? Lying is bad because a generally truthful world is a good thing. It's a very good thing. And one of the things I'm most concerned about today is that lying diminishes trust between human beings. If people generally didn't tell the truth, life would become very difficult. And we're seeing some of that today because nobody could be trusted and nothing you heard, read could be trusted. And we're falling to that right now, that people trust different things and they don't know what to trust. And it's creating a separation, a void, a shortage, because we're looking outside, not inside, of who we can trust. You need to trust yourself. You would have to find everything out for yourself if we could not trust people to be truthful. You literally have to find everything. Not only do you trust, but you'd have to vet everything. And it creates a very difficult situation. So what does it mean, don't lie to yourself? What does that mean? Above all, don't lie to yourself. The man who lies to himself and listens to his own lies comes to a point that he cannot distinguish the truth within himself. You lose the capability of seeing the truth about yourself and around you. And so you lose respect for yourself and for others. You're diminishing your capacity. You're creating an interference, void, and shortage in your life. And having no respect, he ceases to love. Dostoevsky said that. Having no respect, you cease to love. If you don't love yourself, you need to learn to love you by being honest with yourself, and then others will be honest to you. Likes attract likes. What are the consequences of lying to ourselves? Well, one, if you lie to yourself, you will harden yourself to your own desires. You'll cripple your powers of self-awareness, which are there to refine you, to polish your soul, to accelerate, to grow, to enhance your life. You will actually grow hostile because you will hate yourself for your own cowardlessness. I hated myself. I had everything in the world, multi-millionaire, beautiful wife, daughters, everything. But I was self-loathing. I wasn't worthy of anything. I was separate and lonely, causing all types of difficulties in my life. Lying to ourselves is the reason for not knowing your what and your why. When we lie to ourselves, we're not taking inventory of our personal experiential giving and receiving values. When we lie to ourselves, we don't know our what. People who are lying to themselves wonder all the time, who am I? When you're inauthentic, when you don't know your frequency for so long that you no longer know who you really are or feel comfortable in your own skin. You don't know what you want or why you want it. You don't know what makes you happy. You'll even laugh at jokes and don't even know why, because they're not even funny. You're a chameleon, camouflaged into everybody else. You have created nothingness for yourself. By not knowing and being honest with yourself, we can't learn lessons. And the lessons are what aggregate and allow compound interest in our lives and allow us to grow. So what can we do? What can we do about lying to ourselves? Because everybody here, right, this is a session of liars. Because I still lie to myself. What can I do? Be a ferocious Buddha. That's what we can do. Lying is an ego-based consciousness. It is fear. Lying and fear are the same. It is a primal fear and a secondary fear. You need to utilize the 4 steps to practice ending this fear, to be a ferocious Buddha. Whether it's to others or worse, to yourself, you need to practice ending fear. How do we do that? Number 1, let's practice identifying what we're lying to ourselves about. Let's catch ourselves and illuminate the truth when we lie. Illuminate the truth to other people and to ourselves. Identify it. And when we do, then you need to stop. You don't have to resist it. You don't have to go around it, over it, under it, oversell, back-sell, lie, manipulate, cheat. You don't have to do any of that. There's a little key that gets you right through. It's called the truth. Use the little key. Go right through the big wall. You don't got to oversell it, undersell it, back-end sell it, go around and manipulate it. No problem. Be a ferocious Buddha. Stop. And then, if you're capable of stopping after you identify what you're afraid of and why you're lying to yourself, then you can drop to neutral. Now, I know that sounds counterintuitive, drop to neutral. What does that mean? Drop to neutral means that neutral, peace, is your highest self. And what we want to do is drop down to neutral by breathing through our nose, over our mouth, out through. Big, deep breaths of Buddha. Drop down drop up into your highest frequency, to center, to neutral, into peace. And that will allow you to roll in the truth, to pursue your truth, to pursue your potential. If you lie to yourself, you won't know the difference of who that is. Be a ferocious Buddha. Stop, drop, and roll. When you're lying to yourself, your mind, body, and soul are on fire. Stop, drop, and roll when you're on fire. How do we know then? So let me teach you through this training how we know when we're in the primal or secondary fear of lying to ourselves. Number one, your emotions don't match your words. So if your emotions don't match what you're saying, and have you ever been in a situation where you're trying to convince yourself that someone didn't hurt your feelings, or you're not angry, or I was just in a little argument with my wife, a disagreement with my wife, and she kept saying, "Why are you so mad?" And I kept saying, "I'm not mad." How many times do we do that? I'm not mad. Meanwhile, I was feeling mad. But in my head, I wasn't mad. I wasn't mad. I was frustrated or trying to explain something. But my emotions told an entirely different story than what I was telling my wife. And when your emotions do not match how you say or think you feel, there's a good chance you're lying to yourself. Facing the truth about how you feel, your heart set, allows you to address what it is or is not working in that moment to assist your mindset. Illuminate and acknowledge how you really feel and express those feelings constructively. I wish I could do that all the time with the people that are most relative in my life that I care the most about. If you're hurt, don't be afraid to say you're hurt. If you're angry, don't fear saying that you're angry. Honesty is where true healing will happen for you, and the resolution will come from that truth. The resolution will come. So if your emotions don't match what you think or say, then go ahead and illuminate, acknowledge what you actually are feeling so that you're not lying to yourself. The second thing, if your behavior doesn't align with your what. Now, as you know, a huge fan of your what, right? I believe that you should take inventory of your values every day. Personal, experiential, giving, receiving. And don't be afraid of being a hypocrite. Don't be afraid of being honest to yourself that you didn't know what you didn't know yesterday and you changed your mind. If your behavior, though, does not align with your what, which is directly related to the inventory of values of personal, experiential, giving, and receiving that you're doing for that day as a student in your calendar with what's planned, not planned in your sleep. But if it's not aligned, then work on being consistent and persistent in the pursuit of your own truth. And the way that we do that is lower the bar. It's coming up New Year's soon. How many of us are going to have New Year's resolutions? And what percentage of people are successful with their New Year's resolutions in December of the next year? I've read a statistic. Now everybody knows that the only statistic I know to be true is 99% of all statistics are made up. Oh, also 100% of the things you do now get done. So do it now. Separate yourself with profitability, passion, and purpose and do things now. But more importantly, over 99% of all New Year's resolutions are not still in effect in December. Because people don't utilize consistent, persistent behavior. I say, get in the habit of celebrating New Year's by taking inventory of your values every day. Celebrate New Year's every day. Lower the bar on what you want so that you can consistently, persistently pursue what you want and allow your behavior to align with your what. Right? I had a friend, he's an alcoholic, and I said to him, "Man, that's a terrible disease." And he's like, "Well, I've been sober, now for 4 months. I got my stuff together. I went to Arizona. I almost paid the $40,000 for, rehab." So he's lying to himself. He was wasted both nights that I saw him. Lying. His behavior does not align with what he wants. Make sure that it does and keep lowering the bar until it can do that. Another indication that you're lying to yourself, and that, I was great at this, was making extreme statements. Somebody that makes extreme statements is someone that's lying to themselves. You're either paranoid or extreme or both. If you think everyone's out to get you, you have a need to be offended, or that you never get any good opportunities, you're lying to yourself. Or if you make extreme statements such as, there's no good people around, no good women to date, no good men to date, you are committed to one vantage point without a healthy consideration of other possibilities. You're lying to yourself. If you are afraid or committed to one vantage point and are not open-minded to other people's, you are lying to yourself. If you avoid rational ideas, you're lying to yourself. You may be hiding behind an insecurity that you have if certain ideas make you afraid. Are you afraid of success or failing? Are you afraid of falling in love? As you believe these extreme irrational thoughts, you don't have to make an effort or put yourself out there. So that's why we're lying to ourselves. If we make it unattainable, if we make it ridiculous, irrational, then we don't have to pursue it. It makes us feel safe. But you won't achieve what you really want unless you're honest to yourself and you stop making extreme statements based on fear, paranoia, disappointment, whatever it may be. Consider all possibilities available to you. Consider new thoughts and keep your mind open. Remember, it takes as much energy to convince a closed mind as it does 1,000 open minds. So be 1,000 times by being open and honest with yourself. The next thing we have to be aware of if you're lying to yourself is people that don't know their frequency. If you don't know your frequency, then you don't know who you are. You're inauthentic. You're a chameleon. You're moving by what others want to please other people. I say I'd rather have people hate me for who I am than love me for who I'm not. People who are lying to themselves wonder all the time, who am I? I felt this way all the time. I was so bad at this that I would be at a party and people would talk, that's for example, politics. And they would say one thing on one party and one thing on the other. And in the same party, like, oh yeah, that's amazing, I agree with that. Oh, that's amazing, I agree with that. This is impossible, you can't agree with both sides. I did, because I didn't know who I was. I was lying to myself so frequently. If you've been this inauthentic, if you don't know your frequency for so long, no longer even know who you are or feel comfortable in your own skin, you don't know what you want. That's the biggest tragedy of lying to yourself. Because the key to life is knowing what you want, finding someone that sits in the position that has what you want, and ask them how to get that. Ask them for directions to get to where they are. This is the simplest way. But you can't do that if you're lying to yourself because you don't know what you want. You don't know what makes you happy anymore. You, like I said, laugh at jokes that aren't even funny. You go places that you don't enjoy. You buy things you can't afford. You buy things you don't need. You buy things to be different. You buy things to impress people. You buy things to impress people that you don't even like. You've lost touch with yourself. You're living in the world of for me and lying to yourself for me. So you try to fit in with everyone else. Take note of how you feel throughout the day. Continue to see if you align with your own value. Take note as well how they make you feel alive when you're honest with yourself. You actually feel connected. It clears the interference, corrosion, obstacles, voids, and shortages that you're going to feel when you have fear, when you are in the ego-based consciousness of lying to yourself. So let's look at what things make you feel inauthentic and uncomfortable with yourself, and let's stop, drop, and roll. Let's identify it by knowing our own frequency, not other people's frequency. If you pay attention to and give intention to who you are, you'll get more of who you are. If you see what's missing, you'll get more of what's missing. If you see what other people want you to be, you'll see what other people want you to be. Follow the things that make you come alive. Now, what are the consequences? The consequences of lying to ourselves. Well, we lose ourselves. Right? The biggest consequence is that we lose ourselves. But another consequence is we separate ourselves, which creates unhappiness, right? A tree has no branches. One branch would not go to war to another branch. And part of that is we have to be able to identify a need to be superior. oftentimes you don't even want to know or accept that you're lying to yourself. We won't even though we identify it, it's so painful and hidden in us, we won't admit it. And if you believe that the only thing that matters is that you are accepted by others to be better or separate than others, therefore you shut out the commentary of others, of other outsiders. You don't want anybody's input. Once again, a closed mind, any differing perspective or opinion does not matter. You become, there's three kinds of listeners. There's an interrupter, there is a waiter, and then there's a listener. The first interrupter absolutely is lying to themselves. They don't listen to what anyone says. They're afraid to hear the commentary. They are afraid to open their mind, and so they just interrupt you. Then even worse is a waiter, someone who not listening at all to what you say, once again, is not open to other people's perspective or opinion, and they're just waiting to tell you what they think to interrupt you after you're done saying what you say with no acknowledgement or understanding or processing or lessons learned. And then you have the listener, which is open. Therefore, if you have a need to be superior, you shut out all commentary. You don't want those perspectives or opinions. And this would only shine light on the fact that you're lying to yourself and force you to own up to it. Learn to accept feedback from people you trust so that you can know the truth. When my dad told me the truth, I wasn't ready. When Rob told me the truth, I wasn't ready. When my wife told me the truth, I wasn't ready. I wasn't open to the commentary and opinions of the truth. And moreover, people were afraid then to tell me the truth because they didn't want to be interrupted or attacked. I protected myself by being superior and opinionated and used my success financially to separate myself that somehow I was smarter and not connected to everything and everyone. Which leads to the next thing we need to identify, which is the need to be right. So no matter what happens, it was never my fault. I was never accountable, right? I live by gratitude, forgiveness, accountability. Accountability says, what did I do to attract this to myself, and what am I supposed to learn from it? But instead, I lived in blame, shame, and justification. Even when it was my fault, I convinced myself it wasn't. I gathered everyone around me to support me that it wasn't my fault. The breakups, the business deals, never my fault. Oh, no accountability at all. Blame, shame, justification. The problem is with this is you'll never right your wrongs or learn from your mistakes if you're not accountable. You tend to repeat the same things over and over again, blaming different people for the same results. I have one of my friends that used to play professional baseball, and I helped him out. And he had all the stories, blame, shame, justification, blame, shame, justification. And then eventually, me being stupid, trying to help him, I was the victim of the blame, shame, justification. He's still doing the exact same things, getting the same results. As I'm accelerating, growing, learning, loving, and happy, he's in the same place, in blame, shame, and justification. Let me assure you, it is you. It is okay to learn from it, grow from it, be accountable. Just ask yourself, what did I do to attract this to my life? And what am I supposed to learn from it? And then finally, you're looking at him. One of the things to identify is overselling. You are looking at the king of overselling. I can oversell, back end sell, lie, manipulate, or cheat, create credibility, emotional attachment, quantify things at an overselling, over-exaggerating pace. And it's inherent in my being, this quantum. It was born into me. And I fight it all the time. I need to stop, dropping, and grow. I offer things that I'm not equipped to handle because I've over-exaggerated my abilities. I find out situations that I can't deliver, and then I blame other people. I tell myself I can do anything. I actually told my dad I want to be the best at everything when I was growing up. You're not being honest about your skill set, personality, or knowledge, or desire if you're overselling. You don't have to be. You can be radically humble. Be honest about what you can do and cannot do. Illuminate what you cannot do and ask for help and prepare and manage expectations of people and tell them, I don't do that, I don't know that. One of my favorite things about my friend Gary Vaynerchuk is when I first met him, 6 out of 10 things I was asking him about, he goes, I don't know anything about that. Just like really abruptly, I don't know anything about that. I'm like, dude, you are an honest individual. I can understand your frequency. Be honest with what you can and cannot do. What you can't do today may be achievable in the future if you educate yourself and are honest that you can't do it. The key is to first acknowledge that you don't know what you want or what you know, and then be radically humble and go ask for help and learn how to do that. And if you can do this, if we can be ferocious Buddhas and identify all the needs of the ego to lie, if we can stop in that ego-based consciousness, drop and roll in the right trajectory, what we will be doing is connecting our frequency to others. We will accelerate, grow, and expand. Stop lying to yourself. Get what you want out of life. If you're lying to yourself, you will not know not only what you want, you won't even know who you are. So be kind to your future self and stop lying to yourself. I want to thank everyone. We're going to take some Q&A now. Go ahead, pop those questions. Wow, we got a lot there. Pop those questions into the booth. Remember, mentorship training next week, how to be a mentor, where to find a mentor, how to get mentorship. Search.dmeltzer.com. If you have any questions about this training, videos will pop up. Books, guides, exercises are all free. I'll sign a book, send it to you for Christmas, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, whatever you want. All you gotta do is email me, david@dmeltzer.com. Spotify will have the replays of all my trainings forever. We have sales training, pitch training. Speaking of pitch, 2-minute drill is going to be on Bloomberg Network, Bloomberg TV. The TV show launches January 8th at 8:30 p.m. and it's on Amazon Prime Video. Check it out. You'll love it. If you want to try out for season 2, we air in June. So please apply, dmeltzer.com/pitch. All right, let's take some questions here. Make my life easy. Get into the chat, Q&A, sorry. Here we go. All right, Dave, I'm unable to sell my service via LinkedIn, and most of the time my call reach voice notes. How do I work on this to improve myself? All right, so first of all, I deal with this a lot in my private sales group. You need to take a step back and realize I'm just looking for open-minded sponsors and power sponsors. I need to ask and learn and practice to ask, do you know anyone that can help me? I'm going to improve the statistical success by improving the quantity of people. And after I improve the quantity of people in person, on the phone, via email, and media, I'm going to improve my ability to articulate the quantified value of what service you have. And beyond that, be able to quantify that value of, here's the reasons, the impacts and capabilities that I have, which far exceed the value that I'm asking for. Can you see any reason you won't want to move forward? Go ahead, email me, david@dmeltzer.com, and I'll send you a guide on that. It'll be very helpful for you. Next question, how do you find strength during your testing period? Every day is my testing period. So I find strength in it because I see suffering as a process of enjoying the consistent, persistent pursuit of my potential. I see suffering as my ability to find the light, the love, and the lessons in the pain, which is not a stop sign, but an indicator that I have a better place, a better direction, or a better situation to go into if I can learn that direction. I've been going through this life test and struggling to stay above water. I believe in the world is more than enough because I'm surviving thus far. But this testing period is taking a toll. Right now, I'm breathing through it, but look forward to my break. I can cancel out bad thoughts, smile, and not give up. Why is it so challenging to get to the next level? The harder the challenge, the greater the level. Think about it. If it was a little challenge, you get to the little step. This is a huge challenge. It's taking a while to pick up all the lessons and learn. Why? Because you have a huge step to take, a huge lesson to learn. We all know the cocoon story of why a butterfly struggles so long to break out of a cocoon. If we cut open the cocoon, it will fall out and die because its arms won't be strong enough to fly. You are being prepared for something great. You need to change your mindset to find the light, the love, and the lessons, and get excited that all of these things are happening so that you're prepared for something big. Stop limiting yourself. Liberate yourself with that light, with the love and the lessons. How did you get wealthy? What did you do? Real estate. Well, I've done several different things, but the main thing that I do is I quantify value. I buy things that are oversold. I sell things when they're overbought. And I find the synergies and supplementary capabilities of what's doing well, what's stable, take a couple lottery tickets. Basically what I do is live by core values of gratitude, forgiveness, accountability, and effective communication, living by those with the daily practices of taking inventory of my values, asking and attracting, being a student of my calendar, doing things now, staying present, and practicing ending fear. Raising my awareness through a routine and an adaptable routine. I'm capable of maximizing my productivity with the power of 64, which all of this is in my book. I'd be happy to send to you. Getting twice as much productivity at twice the efficiency with twice the statistical success. And I have made money and lost money in real estate when I wasn't following the daily practices or my values. What's the most harmful lie we tell ourselves? Well, I think it's an individual thing. I think the biggest lie that we tell ourselves is we are not worthy, or that we are alone, or we are not connected. Some of these are critical lies that we tell ourselves. That we are separate is a big one. We're not worthy is a big one. All are terrible lies that we tell ourselves. Look, we are all connected. We just have to use our free will to clear that connection with not only the most powerful source of love, light, and lessons, but more importantly, share those lessons with each other. That Dr. Seuss quote is my all-time favorite. Always appreciate you. When you catch yourself being judgmental, what do? And what's the first step for others? I forgive myself. I attack other people. I have judgments and conditions. I have an ego. The difference is what I do is I practice staying in that ego-based consciousness for minutes and moments, not days, weeks, months, years, etc. like I used to. I'm not going to spend an hour in ego-based consciousness. I'm going to spend minutes and moments in there. And the only certainty that I can find, the control of accountability is wonderful. The perspective of gratitude is fabulous. But forgiveness, the reason it gives us so much peace is it brings certainty. And I'm in the practice of learning how to forgive the unforgivable. I slip in the variance of that degree every single day in a variety of different ways and end up with insecure projections of attacking other people, putting my judgments, my conditions on them, and lying to myself because I'm inadequate in certain ways and I want to project that into or on other people. It's incredible how accessible you are. How do you handle when people aren't ready to receive, willing to receive, or appreciative of your services? I relinquish all value of what I give. So I don't mind my perception that someone doesn't appreciate it because I'm planting seeds for trees that I may never sit under, and all I can do is provide and give unconditionally, knowing that at the right place at the perfect time, it'll set root. And in one way or another, as a positive or a negative, it will impact someone in order to accelerate, grow, and learn. And that's what I feel so happy with. To be accessible, though, to me is a practice, right? I use the Meltzer kaleidoscope, a 3-lens procedure, to make sure that, one, I am productive. The lens of productivity, I look at what I have planned, what I don't have planned, and in my sleep, to provide as much value or service to other people, to be of service. Secondly, the lens of accessibility. How accessible am I to others? How am I accessing what I want? And then, of course, utilizing the lens of gratitude to find the light, the love, and the lessons in all the activity I get paid for, activity I don't get paid for, utilizing the Meltzer kaleidoscope. How do you identify the feeling and deal with it versus trying to always be in a majesty of calmness? Well, those are correlated. So identifying a feeling and dealing with it is identifying if you're an ego-based consciousness or not, because the feeling could be happiness or truth. It's not versus trying to always be in a majesty of calmness. I'm always trying to live in the learning zone. So within the context of living in the learning zone, we have 3 concentric circles. You have the middle one right here, which is the comfort zone, a circle outside of that, which is the learning zone, and this circle outside of that is the anxiety zone. And feel free to email me. I have a diagram and explanation of this, david@dmeltzer.com. You're happy to have it. So the comfort zone is where we don't have to think. It's a subconscious and unconscious zone. The learning zone is where I live. The learning zone has suffering. The learning zone has pain. If the pain and suffering gets too great, it will constrict my learning zone, and pretty soon people have nervous breakdowns. It will constrict the comfort zone, and I can't get out of bed. But if I stay within the learning zone, and I find the light, the love, and the lessons through productivity, accessibility, and gratitude, my learning zone expands, and pretty soon my learning zone is the side of my anxiety zone. What used to make me nervous, fearful, anxious, frustrated, angry no longer does. Something else bigger does, and I can handle more and more. So what I try to do is to identify through those feelings when I'm in ego-based consciousness, and then stop, drop, and roll in order to facilitate me staying in the learning zone, expanding, growing, and accelerating. So what used to make me uncomfortable, now I'm comfortable doing, which makes me more productive, accessible, and gracious, and allows me to get more of what I want to empower other people, Do you have a New Year's resolution every day? Every single day. Excuse me. Mine, every day, is to be kind to my future self and do good deeds and to get better at it. So I'm enjoying the consistent, persistent pursuit of my potential to be the best me that I can, varying by degree, per day, by the inventory of my values that I take according to the situation that I'm in, circumstances that I see, opportunities and lessons that I've learned. What is my biggest fear? I think still my biggest fear has to do with my children. I still have not, reconciled anything bad happening to them, and I don't want them to suffer. I don't want them to have pain, but yet they can't grow unless they have it, and so I'm constantly struggling with that fear for them, but I cancel it. They need it. It's hard for me. I have to change and shift that paradigm. How to find your frequency? Well, there's 3 parts of your frequency. 1 is the strength of your signal. 2 is the spectrum of your frequency. And 3 is the clarity of your frequency. And for me, I use meditation to find that. Meditation, if you're not into it, because I wasn't for 30 some years, is the practice of being quiet. So if you're looking for something, super woo-woo and spiritual about meditation, it's not. It's a pragmatic tool to be quiet. And when you're quiet, you can start being aware of things that you can't be when you're not quiet. And so you want to get in the practice of quieting yourself. And if you get in the practice of quieting yourself, you'll get to know yourself and see where you're lying to yourself, and soon find the strength of your signal, the spectrum of that signal, and the clarity of who you are, and the message of your true, authentic self. When you say, don't fall in love with your product, what does that mean? One of my favorite sayings. Some people are so in love with their product, they forget to make money. Some people are so in love with their product, they don't care about the people. Some people are so in love with their product, they don't want to learn anything else. Some people are so in love with their product, they don't listen. They're not open. Don't be in love with your product. Quantify the value of your product, but products are not to be in love with. Be in love with the people in the process. That's what's going to get you there. Being in love with your product is going to separate you and allow you to be distracted in the wrong trajectory. Learn to quantify that product. Learn to love what that product can do. Do not be in love with your product. You will fall into many business traps. There we go. Any suggestions on dealing with an aggressive work colleague? Yes. 2 things to do with an aggressive work colleague. 1, understand. Understand. Ask them why they feel that way. What's going on? Anything you could help them with? And then still, if they're agitated or angry or aggressive, pray for their happiness. Because happy people are not aggressive people. Happy people don't have attacks or judgments or conditions that they throw upon you. Happy people won't backstab you, lie, cheat, manipulate, oversell, and undersell. Happy people are truthful with themselves and are happy with themselves and find within them what they want outside of them. So pray for their happiness. And then use the great chain of feeding as a variance of how to engage with the person. If somebody is feeding you, feed them. In a variance, if they don't feed you, Separate yourself from them. Allow them to fall away. All the way to, if they bleed you, fire them. Get them out of your life. So utilize that great chain of feeding in order to effectuate who you want and where you want, and how to understand and pray for people's happiness. How can we ready to receive the truth? How can we be ready? You're always ready. It's how can you practice finding the truth within yourself. I use time as a variable in order to effectuate how well I'm doing in my practice. Did it take me a month to get back to feeling and saying, thinking, and doing the same things? In other words, alignment with my truth. Or did it take a week? Or did it take a day? Or did it take an hour? Or did it take a minute, a moment? Try to get it down to minutes and moments. Use it as a muscle. Practice receiving and looking and searching and seeking for the truth in yourself, and you will find it in others. Forgiveness is one of the keys to that certainty and peace. Any tips on getting a new job? Yes. Ask, number one. Ask in person, on the phone, via email and media, radio, print, TV, social media. Do you know one that can help me? But be more interested than interesting. Take inventory of your capabilities every day. Take inventory of your capabilities every day and see how they're aligning with industries, jobs, careers, and companies that are doing well. Look at your capabilities, your skills, your knowledge, and desires, and see how synergistic and supplementary they are to industries, careers, businesses, or jobs that are stable. And finally, take a lottery ticket, a chance. See how your capabilities, your skills, knowledge, and desire are supplementary or synergistic to what you think will do well in the future. Get yourself a lottery ticket job with looking at those industries, careers, jobs, etc. that you feel will be doing well in the future. And if you don't know where to find them, then ask. One of the places that you can do research is the stock market. It's quite easy to see the top 50 performing stocks over the last 8 months and see what industry, careers, and jobs are existing and synergistic and supplementary to your capabilities. It's so easy to see in the stock market the top 50 stable companies for the last 3 years, or 8 months, or 6 months. And then once again, find how your capabilities are synergistic or supplementary to the careers, industries, jobs, and companies that are in there. Or lottery ticket wise, go ahead and see companies that you feel have been oversold. And go ahead and see how you're synergistic, supplementary to those. That's how you get a new job. And then ask people within the context of your life, personally, professionally, in person, on the phone, via email or media, if they know anyone that can help you with this company, career, industry, etc. And you will exponentially pay attention and give attention to the coincidence of this great new job that you are looking for. I tend to be very blunt about how sometimes I feel. Attached to so with Gary Vee, I don't know much how do we audition. Just email me, david@Meltzer.com. Better to be blunt. Better to find people that like you for who you are than love you for who you're not. Honesty, its frequency is the highest, right? The truth vibrates the fastest. The truth vibrates the fastest. How do you have a successful sober 2021? No weed or alcohol. Well, you got to want it. Especially if it's quantum in your nature to excessively use or addicted to weed or alcohol. You got to want it worse than you want to do it. You got to make the mindset that I want to stop more than I want to do it. And you have to lower the bar and be consistent. But the only way you'll stop, it doesn't matter what programs, what products, solutions it is, what I've learned through helping people with addictions, and I've helped many around the world's leaders in this space, you got to work on yourself to want it more than you want to use it. And working within is one of those ways of being honest with yourself. It is and can be a disease, so make sure you're supplementing that desire with all the capabilities that are out there. But if you don't have the desire to want to be sober more than drunk or high, you're never going to get there no matter what. I still don't have a full understanding of what you mean to take inventory of your values. I know you say it a lot, but I can't wrap my head around the drill. Okay, thank you for asking, because if you feel that way, millions of people feel that way. Okay, taking inventory of values. I wake up every day, I meditate, and I think to myself, what's personally do I want today? What is the personal that I want? Minimum of an hour a day on my health. Minimum of 50 minutes with my wife. Minimum of 10 minutes with my son. Minimum of 10 minutes studying my calendar. What's personally, for me, to receive, to valuable? Then experientially, people don't take inventory of their experiences in the day. They go ahead and, I know this because I ask people all the time, what do you want to do? And they're like, where do you want to eat? What do you want to eat? No, take inventory of your experiences. You can carpe diem the crap out of your day when you know what experiences you want. I'm going to jump off a roof today. Awesome. Whatever it may be. Then take inventory of your giving values. So study your calendar for productivity, accessibility, and gratitude. What activities, how can I provide value or service in everything I do? Activity I get paid for, activity I don't get paid for. How am I providing that value? And then the values of knowing you're receiving values is accessibility. How accessible am I going to be to others to access what I want? How accessible am I going to be to the information? How open am I going to be and honest am I going to be to the information? So if you take inventory of that every day, you'll start realizing, I didn't know shit yesterday. I made a huge mistake and told people I believe this. I don't believe that anymore because guess what? I've learned something. I've accelerated, I grew. I've increased my learning zone. I can handle much more today, but I sure was stupid yesterday. And then it allows me to be more confident to ask for help and get what I want. Hopefully that helps you. If not, email me. I have some guides, exercises, and books that will help you for free. I'll pay for shipping if you want me to sign it. That's fine. So go ahead, reach out. What do you mean by back-end selling as a clear negative? Yeah, this is a car sales term, back-end selling. It's the copier salesman term. It's Cox Cable's term. So when you're a back-end seller, you do 10, 20 of the same deals. You sell cars all day long. So you know that if you sell a warranty or rust protection or, a copier on a lease and, it's a 6-year lease, and at the end of 6 years, you don't tell someone about the $1,200 charge to pick up the machine plus the added payments for each stair that they have to walk up or whatever BS back-end selling. So back-end selling is you'll deal with it on the back end of the deal after you. So you say what you need to say to get the deal done, and you don't say it or you lie about what is going to happen on the back end. Especially with sales reps that are maybe discontented and don't think they're going to be there very long. They back-end sell a lot and figure they're going to leave the job and let somebody that's there deal with the lies, overselling, or cheating that they did. Back-end selling, be forward, be honest, is a form of lying to yourself and to others. How would you approach someone who you know is lying to themselves to help them realize this? Ask questions, right? Ask questions, or point it out like Rob and just separate yourself, right? By saying, hey, you could lie to me, but don't lie to yourself. You need to be able to be a good friend, hopefully diplomatically and in some positive, constructive way, broach the subject that, is that really how you feel? Is that aligned with what you're saying and doing? And so being more interested than interesting, asking people more questions to allow them to step-by-step utilize self-exploration, illumination, and acknowledgement in order to effectuate that. Let's see here. Just broke up from a 3-year relationship. How can I gather my energy to focus on my business? See, this is an all but nothing problem. And it's hard for me to be empathetic of because I believe in consistent, persistent behavior. And so whether I break up from a 3-year relationship or something changes like COVID, for me, it's still just a daily practice of a habit machine of being able to effectuate, taking inventory of my values, maximizing the activity I get paid for, what I don't get paid for, maximizing productivity, accessibility, gratitude, maximizing what I have planned, what I don't have planned, and my sleep, according to not being with that person that I just broke up with. So I try to detach, right, my focus, my business from that relationship when I'm in it, So if I'm out of it, it's still going to be the exact same. It's the same reason I vacation every day. So that I don't have to feel like I need to vacation. Two, I don't have to refocus being on vacation because I'm in the practice of vacationing every day. You need to have your allotted focuses towards these different things, and they cannot affect each other or should not affect each other. You should be able to vacation every day and be extremely productive, accessible, and gracious with the activity you get paid for. You should not have to go off the grid for 6 weeks because you work so hard. I promise you, if anyone wants to shadow me, that very few people can keep up with me, but I vacation every day. And when we do that vacation time, you'll see how that aggregates, compounds itself, that 2 minutes a day is worth 2 hours on a Saturday. 20 minutes a day is worth 20 hours on a Saturday. Very few people party or vacation for 20 hours on a Saturday. They don't need to do that. Better off doing 20 minutes every day. You get better results in that manner. What are some specific steps someone could take to transition from being an interrupter to a listener? It's something I'm working on, but I find myself being more of a waiter than a listener. Yeah, breathing. breathing. So I tell myself, stop, breathe, stop, breathe. And I catch myself. And when I catch myself, if I interrupt you, for example, and I catch it, I actually illuminate it and train myself consciously, subconsciously, and unconsciously to stop. So at times I find myself interrupting or being a waiter. I'll actually vocalize and acknowledge and illuminate. I am so sorry. I'm working on interrupting people. I'm very interested in what you have to say. Can we start over? And I start over. You got to just get into the practice of acknowledgement and illumination of the difficulty, cancel and stop, breathe. Those are all techniques and steps that you can take to work on interrupting and waiting less in a conversation so that you can learn more. How do I convey my realism to others to see my worth as I do, to create a stronger value and connection for growth and shared success? Utilizing the 5 criteria, and you can get, once again, this guy, David at dmeltzer.com. Number 1, work on your credibility aligned with that perception or realism. Make sure you have an emotional attachment by asking what they do today, what they like about it, what they don't like about it, and then lead them to, would it help you if, it helps me if, and then practice articulating the quantitative value. So it's not just subjective in your own mind, that you actually can materialize the quantification of that value that is your reality. If you can't articulate a quantifiable value, then it remains only your perception. If you can articulate a quantitative value, it becomes a shared vision and it becomes a collective belief. Much more valuable in the context of what we do. How to sell a skill online. Same way you sell it anywhere else. Credibility, emotional attachment, quantify the reasons, impacts, and capabilities. Best way to do so. Let's take the last question. David, do you believe that being religious has a big impact on our happiness? Religion is personal. Dogmatic religions have certain criteria that are aligned. As long as your religion, your faith, whatever that may be, is one in which allows you to enjoy the consistent, persistent pursuit of your potential, and makes you feel better, and makes you want to help other people and do good deeds, not have judgments, conditions, or attacks on others, then it's only good, and you should have that type of religion in your life. However you define it, name it, or whatever you believe in, it has to have those faithful, and it has to balance that faith to make you not only know that you can be better, but inspires you to do so, not only just for yourself, but for others, by being honest with yourself. All right, everyone, that's it. It was the hour of power. Stop lying to yourself. Let's get all these liars out of here. Thank you, all you liars, for coming. Let's all work on being honest with ourselves. Please reach out to me, David at dmeltzer.com. Join my text community, 949-298-2905. Those will be posted in the notes in the chat. You can get my guides, exercises, books, all for free. Ship to you, no problem. I'll sign them. All for free. I'll pay for shipping. Don't worry. Search.dmeltzer.com. Search.dmeltzer.com. You can look up all my answers right there. I'm happy to send them out to you. We have private groups available. We are here for you. So please reach out. I appreciate all of you. Pitch show, January 8th, the launch of 2 Minute Drill. You got to come see it on Bloomberg Network TV as well as Amazon Prime Video. You'll love it. 2 Minute Drill. We have extraordinary people, $50,000 of cash and prizes every episode. Season 2 will be in June. If you want to try out, email me, david@meltzer.com. Next week's training is on mentoring. Next week's, if you're a coach or a mentee, you got to come and visit us. If you missed this or want to share it, featured on Spotify, the playlist, the playbook it's called. It has its own playlist. Entrepreneur and all other platforms. Check out the playbook. But most importantly, everyone, be kind to your future self and do good deeds.